Hey everyone, I'm Brenton. Welcome to my third video where we'll look at the possibility of consciousness causing a measurable effect to matter outside the human body. To many, the idea of being able to affect physical objects or other living things with your mind seems totally impossible. I've had a look for some of the most interesting experiments I could find that attempt to find a correlation between consciousness or thought and physically measurable changes in matter or living systems. The first experiment I've looked at is the Global Consciousness Project. This experiment was set up to see if major events could cause enough people to have a change in emotional state or change of consciousness, so that it would change the output of random number generators. The reason for the expected change of consciousness was a belief in a global consciousness that could influence matter, such as electrons tunneling through diodes in the random number generators. To carry out the experiment, the hardware random number generators, or RNGs, are first tested with millions of trials to ensure there is no initial pattern in the data, and they are then set up at the host sites. A sample is generated in the devices by allocating either a 0 or 1 depending on whether the voltage measured across the diode is considered high or low. A trial, which is 200 samples or 200 bits, is taken every second and is sent to a server in Princeton. A time period is chosen for each event considered to cause a shared emotional state for large numbers of people, and the data is examined for this chosen period. Data is given z-scores to determine the deviation from the null hypothesis. This is basically to see how far the random number generators vary from being completely random. The distribution is calculated for the whole network as well as the individual devices. An overall conclusion is made based on the output of the random number generators during the specific events and relates this to whether or not mass consciousness has a measurable effect on the degree of randomness. The result of the combined data for the experiments seemed to show a clear trend indicating that the output from the number generators does change when there are events that affect mass or global consciousness. Criticisms of the Global Consciousness Project generally relate to how the data was interpreted and the statistics involved. Some people have suggested that there may have been a selection bias, or that the pattern may not be seen if time periods for the events were moved slightly one way or the other. I've contacted Roger Nelson, who is currently running the project, and he has assured me that there is no selection bias, and as the time windows are chosen before looking at any of the data. He also advised that some of the criticisms only relate to early exploratory data and not their formal analysis. Just a quick mention too of another experiment I've looked at. This one that is referred to as the Baxter experiment, as it was initially carried out by a lie detector expert for the FBI named Clive Baxter. It involved hooking a plant up to a lie detector and measuring the response. In the experiment, when someone was thinking of something like burning a plant, a response could then be seen on the lie detector. These lie detectors generally measure the galvanic skin response in humans, which is basically the electrical conductivity on the surface of the skin. Therefore, the result from the lie detector would have been related to perhaps changing moisture levels in the leaves when these thoughts were projected at the plants. The process was repeated on the television show Mythbusters, where they seemed to get similar results. There are also several other interesting experiments related to thought possibly influencing physical objects. Some worth looking at might be experiments such as Dr. Emoto's water crystal experiments or the yogurt experiment. I think the effect of thought and the possible interconnectedness of our minds with our bodies and the world around us is worthy of further research. If people really understood that the majority of thoughts they were thinking may be deciding if they are sick or healthy, they may start to find ways to think more effectively. The idea of our thoughts affecting physical matter and the possibility of a universal field or field of consciousness could also have a major influence on belief systems and the way people live their lives. This could provide evidence for things like psychic phenomena or telepathy. Perhaps it could also indicate how consciousness continue to exist after we die, and the idea that we're all one and are connected may change the way we treat others. I hope you found these videos interesting. Thanks for watching.